Hello Mets fans, welcome back to the channel, and we're going to be taking a look today at, yes, Trevor Bauer. I was going to touch on him actually in the video tomorrow. I already had it recorded, but I figured, you know what, let's just scrap that and talk about what's happening right now, because over the past couple hours, some reports came out, some significant ones if you ask me, regarding the coveted free agent starting pitcher, and that comes from Mark Feinsand, as you guys can see right here, one of the more coveted reporters for MLB.com, and came out in his most recent article today regarding the remaining free agents and how Trevor Bauer may very well land with either the Mets or the Angels. According to his industry sources, those are the two front runners as of right now, which I found a little surprising, not gonna lie, but I do trust Feinsand. Again, it doesn't mean that he's necessarily going to land directly with the Mets, but the fact that this is coming out from a guy of his caliber who does have a lot of reputability, I think it is definitely a fun conversation to get into, to say the least. So that's what we'll be taking a look at in today's video. Everything there is to know with the latest reports with Trevor Bauer, his connection with the Mets, everything that has led up to this point was connection to the Mets, and if the Mets are actually very well going to land the biggest fish out there in free agency currently. And as always, guys, make sure you stay all the way until the end of the video for all the deets and all my thoughts on Trevor Bauer and everything there is to know. And also, guys, I'll be live streaming later tonight, but I'll touch on that further into this video. But enough of me talking, let's get right into it. Alright guys, and because this is more so of an update video, if you will, I highly recommend that if you don't know his numbers, if you don't know some of his more advanced stats, to check out my previous video I discussed on Trevor Bauer when the first really connections happened between him and the Mets over the past 2 months. So check out that video. It's one of my earlier videos here on the channel, but it still holds true with everything there is to know in regards to all of his statistics and all that great stuff. But Trevor Bauer, the 2020 Cy Young Award winner from the NL, as we know, the most coveted free agent currently on the market, and has been the most coveted starting pitching free agent, and he's been very controversial to say the least, besides who he is as an actual person. But everything throughout this offseason, wearing hats and wearing jerseys of basically every single team out there that could very well land him this offseason, including the Mets. He's done YouTube videos about the Mets. We all know this by now, so I'm not going to beat a dead horse here, but these reports are very interesting if you ask me, because for a Mets team that just lost out on George Springer, and there is some belief that did the Mets lose out on George Springer strictly because the cost was simply too high that they can't afford it, or was it that they missed out on George Springer because yes, he was costly, but they didn't want to go to 150 mil because they didn't think he was worth it in the long run? I think that is more of the reasoning here. Granted, I could be wrong here, but from what a lot of reports are suggesting is just that. So if that is the case for the Mets, they still have money they're working with. I get it, they're under $30 million away from the luxury tax threshold of $210 million, but I still think that if the Mets want to push that, they very well may. And I know Trevor Bauer is a guy where you're trying to think, is he really going to possibly take a short-term deal? I'm not sure. Only time is going to tell on that front, but this guy has a plethora of options. So to see a source like Mark Feinsand come out today and basically say, yes, it looks like it's the Angels or the Mets, just a day removed after looking like the Dodgers very well may still have a strong chance at him, and they still may, but I was under the belief for the longest time that Trevor Bauer, if he doesn't go to the Mets, he's going to stay in Cali, either with the Angels or the Padres were a team that really stood out to me, but after them landing Musgrove as well, it kind of feels unlikely. I'm not going to eliminate it, but it just feels unlikely right now. And then the LA Dodgers are just always a team that you have to consider at the end of the day, but the Mets make a lot of sense here for numerous reasons, and I've touched on that plenty. And look, say what you will about the man, he is still a fantastic pitcher. In 2018 is where he had his second best year up until the 2020 short season, where he had just around a 2.2 ERA, where his spin rate was up that year. It wasn't as up in 2019, where he didn't have nearly as great of a year, but in 2020 short season, he was skyrocketing through the roof, and we all know the stories between how is he doing that spin rate? Is it through this? Is it through that? Is it through illegally? Is it through legally? Whatever it is, it's working. I don't think it's going to be an issue for Trevor Bauer going forward. He uses advanced metrics and analytics on the back of his hand and has been for years now. And I think, honestly, my personal opinion, I would not be against Trevor Bauer landing with the Mets at all, as long as it's at the right price, because I think the Mets would weigh this option here just like, if not the same as the George Springer situation. They don't want to cough up 6 years to Trevor Bauer, 150 million, for instance. If they're going to give up say a high AAV, it's going to probably be more on a short-term deal, something that they feel comfortable with, knowing that's not going to affect them too much in the long term. But you also have to look at how is it going to affect them necessarily right now. If they aren't still trying to address the center field, or at least one aspect of the outfield, which I am under the firm belief they are doing just that. That's why we talked about all these guys here on the channel as it is. But between third base as well, they are not sticking with JD Davis. At least that's not what it would seem. I wouldn't mind if they did, but all the reports are indicating, they have been over the past month, that Sandy Alderson is not necessarily in love with his defensive game, putting it fairly lightly. And then when you look at the rotation still, the bullpen, the Mets still have a lot of holes they're going to address. They are not done this offseason, and that's why I'm making this video for you guys today. But Trevor Bauer would easily, and I mean easily, make this rotation probably the best in baseball at that point, or top three, no doubt. We just talked about Sonny Gray and Eugenio Suarez as possible options, as the Mets have just been connected to them over the past day or so, so make sure to check out that video again if you haven't, guys. But outside of that, it looks like the Mets have been really interested in these Reds pitchers, and Trevor Bauer could be a more realistic option if they can get him at the right price, obviously. And two, he would just bring so much to this rotation. He brings so many more fans to the Mets as it is with this new regime, as long as he can thrive and be able to handle the pressure, which I honestly believe he can. I think he would do great with his marketing between Momentum and Luba Sports, everything that he does outside of baseball and inside, giving you an inside access on things. I know you either love him or hate him for that aspect. I completely understand if you think it's a distraction, if you think that that's kind of a head case type mentality, if you think that's not how baseball should be done. I honestly am for it. I think that's great to grow the game. I don't think the MLB does a good job by any stretch of the imagination how their marketing goes about for the MLB. So a guy like Trevor Bauer, yes, I know he is pretty much straightforward with his thoughts and stuff like that, which can run people the wrong way, but he does things how he wants to do them. And in regards to marketing, I'm not against that at all. I'm really not. And that's a factor into his decision making. And he made that clear in a video he did on his YouTube channel not too long ago, over the past couple weeks. So check that out too if you guys haven't. I thought it was really interesting to see basically what he's looking for and what he's not looking for as a free agent going to a new team going into the 2021 season. So Trevor Bauer, I think this very well can still be an option. The Mets obviously wouldn't trade for Sonny Gray in this scenario, and they would make him their priority at that point for the offseason. Then they would probably do some more depth moves if possible. Again, we don't really know exactly how much money the Mets are working with. They're not going to act like drunken sailors. We know this, and it seems more likely that he's going to stay in the LA area, whether that's with the Dodgers, the Angels, or maybe even the Padres if he goes to San Diego. Cali seems like a very strong fit for Trevor Bauer, don't get me wrong. But to see these reports come out today and suggest that, yeah, the Mets and the Angels from multiple industry sources are really looking like the front runners, it's awfully similar to the George Springer situation in that aspect too, with, okay, Sandy Alderson has stated that they're really going in on some big name free agents this offseason, and that it wasn't going to be the only thing they do, but they are taking a heavy look at free agency. So is this going to be the one of multiple big fish that the Mets had an option of and are going to be able to land in free agency, or are they going to probably prioritize more so the trade market than other things? That's going to be a ticking time bomb, as we know all this is, but I'm so excited to find out exactly what is going to happen, because I do believe sooner rather than later we're going to find out more stuff. George Springer getting knocked off the board was huge. Now we have Trevor Bauer, JT Realmuto, Brad Hand, among some others up next, and hopefully we can finally get a grasp as to, okay, this is the Mets lineup heading into the 2021 season. And I'm just so pumped at the thought of all the hypotheticals still going around, because the Mets are just connected to literally all these players. That's just how it is, and it's such a great feeling as a Mets fan. I cannot get enough of it, truly. I'm sure you guys can either. You might get fed up, but for me personally, I've just been enjoying every second, knowing that the Mets have the capability, have the actual revenue that they're working with now, where, yeah, they can afford to go after big name guys probably year in and year out without acting like drunken sailors. It does get much better than that. So guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How do you feel about Trevor Bauer, the shortened 2020 NL Cy Young Award winner, landing in Queens, I should say, with the New York Mets? Do you think it'll be a strong fit there? Do you think it's realistic, or do you think it's unrealistic, and that maybe there isn't too much that we should hold with this latest report here by Mark Feinsand and everything in between? But thank you all so much, guys. It means the world. Help us get to 3,000 subscribers, and make sure to check out for my live stream I'll probably have up in the next hour or so, maybe even before then, at 9 p.m. Eastern time, breaking down more so on the Trevor Bauer news, more so on guys like Brad Hand, Jackie Bradley Jr., Nolan Arenado, Albert Almora Jr., Eugenio Suarez, Sonny Gray, you name it. If he's connected to the Mets, I'm probably talking about it in tonight's stream for a long off-season special. So I hope to see you guys there. It'll be a lot of fun. But thank you all so much again, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll talk to you again real soon.